Welcome back, everyone. We're just going to wait for 1 minute. People are still trying to get in.
Emerson,
Hi.
hi. So before you get started, do you have that video of you and Carol posted somewhere?
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Is it on your YouTube channel, or is it
No, no, no. I'll email it to you.
fabulous?
Who's
Thank
asking?
you. This
I don't
is
know.
Zoe.
Oh, hi, Zoe.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. So good to
Or
be here.
or the best thing to do is just join the there's a small Facebook group
I'm
that
on that, but
Oh, you are.
I was scrolling through and I saw some other one-on-ones, but maybe I need to go further back
I think
and
you need to go
find
further.
further back. Okay, I'll keep
Yeah.
looking. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back. Although no one's here. Can you hear me okay? So when this communication was heard, there was a lot of resistance, but there was also a resonance. It's something that was quite obvious and quite simple, but it was really resisted. When I encountered Tony Parsons, I was blown away, at the same time repulsed. Repulsed at the idea that there's everything that I worked so hard for, all the seeking, all of the hours spent didn't really mean anything. So since there's no time, this communication is like a revolution that happens over and over again. It's a non-stop revolution. It's a shift, it's a change, it's radical. It keeps on happening and happening simultaneously. There's this freshness to it. There's this uncertainty to it. In fact, it can actually be captured. How can you capture infinity? How can you explain the unknowable? So it's just this energetic expression that nothing ever happens, that there's nowhere to go, that there's nothing outside of this, that there's no escaping this. Because what's being looked for is also what's being avoided. What's being desired is the one that can't be desired. What seemingly is wanted is unwanted at the same time. So there's this obsessiveness sometimes about this communication that is so unexplainable. Spending Saturday and Sunday, spending 6 7 hours each day looking for something. So this infinity, or this eternalness of this, is always available. And that's the revolution that never really lands. You can say that it's decentralized. There's no authority. That what seems to be occurring is not really occurring at the same time. And it's really desired. Everybody wants to get out of the story. Everybody wants to let go of any desire. Everyone wants the absence, but it can't handle it. It can't take it. It's like madness, right? It wants the revolution but doesn't know what it's really looking for. It's smacking in front of the face and it keeps on wanting more. It's completely available, But it keeps on going where? When? How? So what's being expressed here is completely revolutionary, and it never ever stops because it's always appearing constantly. It's completely exposed, but it can't be grasped. It can't be owned. There's no ownership to this. No one can claim this because there's never been anyone. And that's what's obvious. So let's go with what's obvious. So the obviousness of this is that there's never been anyone here ever. There's no history. And I'll keep on repeating that over and over again because it's the simplest way to express that. So if there's no one here ever, there's also no timekeeper, meaning that there's no time. If there's no one here, there's also no movement. It's all stillness. If there's no one here, everything is just a delusion or an illusion or a mirage. And all of that is just a suggestion because there's no one here speaking and there's no one there listening. So every single story about this is just a story. Every single concept about this is just another concept. Every single pointing towards this is pointing at nothing. So since there's nowhere to go and there's only this, what's being expressed is that this is what's obvious. What's obvious that there's only this and there's no one here. Really simple. Really simple. The simplicity of this is that there's nothing to learn. There's nothing to understand. Again, when there was this seeing of this communication, it was not an understanding, but an obviousness. I listened back to Tony and Jim and Kenneth, and I was laughing so hard because what was being expressed was just completely simple, like this. So it doesn't want to use any big words because it's not really about words. It's this energetic, overflowing. It's this unconditional love that you're drowning in, and there's no one there. It's everywhere, and it's in nowhere. It's everything, and it's nothing. It's the wholeness of everything, the completeness. It's not a location. It's not a riddle. I'm not trying to talk in riddles here. I'm just trying to express it as plainly as possible that all that there is this unconditionality. And before you try to understand what unconditionality is, that's not it. Because unconditional is not captured in conditions. And the one that's trying to understand it is conditional. It's like in a nighttime dream. I'll go with the nighttime analogy again. What seems to be understood, the moment that it's seen that it didn't really happen, doesn't really mean anything. Like in a nighttime dream, there's no purpose, there's no meaning, nothing happening, no time, no space, no one. Just like this. And it's the expression, it's like infinity expressing itself infinitely in time. The infinite expression of infinity expressing as this. And there's nothing outside of this. No one can even understand what infinity is because it's not understandable. No one knows what eternity is because it's not understandable as well. But what's being presented is that this is eternity already. This is infinity already. So everything that, since there's no separation, everything that's appearing is infinite. Everything that is seen is infinite. It appears as whatever, but it's also infinite. Okay, let's get into questions. Because I can just keep on talking infinitely about nothing. Robert. Hey, Robert.
Hi, Emerson.
How you doing?
Um, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm curious as to if um people upon receiving this message have ever suffered symptoms of a dissociation. Sometimes I feel like hearing this makes
Hmm.
me dissociate a bit.
Um, I don't really hear much. What I usually hear is people that have a bit of um, dizziness, dizziness, or a little bit of the kind of like yesterday, someone was like, "Who's breathing?" or having a hard time breathing. It's a shock to the system because it's almost like a disruption of the thinking. It's almost kind of um, like a revealing of something that's not really happening. So the character tries to negotiate between what seems to be happening and tries to understand that it's also not happening. But as I said, it can't really be understood. The
Mm,
naturalness of this is that it doesn't require understanding. The naturalness of this is that it's just simply appearing as it is, without any definition, without any kind of interpretation. So what seems to happen is there's this interpretation of what's apparently naturally just appearing, meaning that nothing appearing as everything. Or to simplify it, nothing is everything. But the apparent understanding can't seem to navigate through that because it can navigate from here and there.
mm,
It's like it's like trying to catch a flash and trying to understand that, trying to find the anatomy of this instance. But there's also no instance.
mm.
Yeah. Some people that have listened to this, I've heard actually a couple of people that have listened to this, that there seems to be a blacking out. There was one talk that I did, and I got a couple of people that said that they were listening to me, and all of a sudden they were not hearing the words, that it was just basically like a blackout. But there was just it's just a story. Nothing happens, basically, is what's being expressed. Before you call it samadhi or all that kind of stuff like that, that's just another idea. And there seems to be, yeah, so an emptiness is seen, but by no one. So it feels like a blackout. And
That's really
usually there's
interesting.
laughter that happens or fear that arises. They're like, what happened? If it becomes a story.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Um, is nausea a common symptom?
Yes, totally. Yeah. I have a friend that I told this story millions of times, but I'll say it again. I have a friend who would not see me for a few years, like maybe 10 years, and really wanted to know what I've been up to. So I said, "Oh, you don't really want to hear," and I just basically told him that, well, there's this seeing that there's nothing happening. So after maybe an hour of talking about that, he ran to the washroom and he came back and he goes, "I just threw up." And then he said he laughed and he said that there's no one here. There's nothing happening. Yeah. So it's almost like a resistance to what is already. It's an avoidance of what seems to be obvious, but not for someone, because that obviousness seems to be kind of like manufactured into something that can be digested. Does that make any sense? This can't be digested because it's already appearing in everything. Unconditionality can't really be understood because it's understood in conditions. Even if someone said that, well, I understand unconditional love, that's a condition already.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm. Yeah,
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shadi, how you doing?
Like,
Hi.
just to continue, hi, just to
Yeah, sure.
continue what you guys we were just talking about. Would you say then that all emotions just lose their grip too? Like, like you know how you were telling us the story you got punched out.
Yeah,
Okay, there was that physical thing that you
yeah.
felt, bruises or whatever, but then you just like there was
It's
no
not.
rebellious act. Like it's just boom, it's gone. Like
It's it's not really a denial. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I describe it as kind of like almost like being a Teflon pan. It's apparent. It's strong, but it slides right away.
Like it doesn't stick as
It
long.
doesn't
It's
stick.
like things
Yeah,
start just flowing.
yeah, yeah. If it's shitty, it's shitty. You know what I'm saying? Then there will be a shitty expression. If it's kind of like being a child. Like when you're a child, you're quick to cry and you're quick to laugh. I can watch a whole bunch of YouTube videos and I'll be like, oh, stop with this animal reuniting with their owners. It just gets me all the time. Or, or laughing at I used to think that there were low vibrations. I would watch something that would be high quality or something. Now it doesn't really matter. Everything is just an appearance. So there's no seriousness in everything. But the reaction like anger or frustration appears, but it's not appearing for someone. It's more
Yeah.
like the
And
blinders are off of the character. So it's not that the character is trying to be, it's the authentic character. It's not pretentious anymore. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not trying to hide something, it's not trying to limit something. So it's angry, it's angry. If
mhm.
it's if it's if it's uh if it's laughing, it laughs out loud. But that's just a story as well. Don't get caught up in any of this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
just the one thing I wanted to ask, because I know everything becomes a concept or a thought,
Yeah.
and but like some of these sages that or gurus, like I'm sure you've mentioned them, like Ramara Maharshi and
Yeah.
Krishnamurti. Like I get like its concepts, but really I find that whatever they spoke really ties into the non-duality of what we're sort
Some
of
of them
talking
do.
about.
Some of them, not all of it. It's really contradictory. So this is the first. That's why this is a revolutionary communication, because it doesn't really contradict. Um, just it blatantly states that there's no one here. So for example, with Ramana, or I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it teaches it to a person. Although it says that there's no one here, it shows practices on how to get to no one. It it
With
it
theirs, it's just like you lose, like if you're not your thought, you're not your emotion, you're not the body, you're not this, you're not that, what is it?
yeah.
You're basically emptiness of nothingness appearing as
Yeah,
separate,
I
right?
studied that a long time ago, and I don't really remember much anymore because there was a seeming purging of all of that, right? So I would hear a Ramana quote and everything, and I would write it down and try to decipher it and understand it. And so all of that is completely meaningless now, here, because it's trying to teach something. This is not a teaching at all. This is just an exposure that everything that you're looking for is appearing in everything. Seems to be hidden, but it's everything. That there's nothing to do, there's nothing to understand. And for 10 years, in trying to understand Ramana and Nisargadatta and all of these teachings about awareness, I was teaching awareness, I was teaching meditation, I was teaching all of that. And all of those 10 years being a teacher, I've never witnessed someone liberated. With this communication, and this is just a story as well, in the past 3 months that I have been doing one on ones, it's countless people that have seen what's apparently being expressed. And none of that in 10 years of Ramana and Nisargadatta and all that kind of stuff like that, because it makes it really so complicated, right? It becomes a story. So this is just nothing happens, and what I said is just a bunch of stories, but there is joy in sharing this communication, because there seems to be a dropping away of beliefs, or there seems to be a disruption,
Mhm.
and then there's a joy that erupts from it.
Just like when we on our last series with Anne Brown, when you guys
Yeah,
were saying like it's like there's one coin and then there's the good and bad and it's all the same. So
it's all
then
the
even
same.
there's
Yeah,
no good and bad, there's no right or wrong. There's
yeah, yeah. It's
but
just
it
what is.
appears to be
It appears to be,
like
yeah.
pardon?
It feels completely real. Like for example, if there is there's always this question about this. So I'll cover it now. If there is they think that when there is a loss, or the of a belief of good or bad, that the person's going to be bad or can do anything whatever it pleases. As I said, the character is going to stay as a character. If it's a good character, it's a good character. If it's a bad character, Maybe it will kill more. I don't know. But what's being expressed here is that there's no characters whatsoever. So everything is a story.
So the character of Emerson, is it the person or however the character is that then built on the conditioning of childhood of whatever
No,
life
in
experiences, or it's just that's how it is and we're trying to tie
yeah,
it to something?
there's a confusion about that because here I don't see conditioning whatsoever. Everything is just appearing automatically, spontaneously, and there's a story of conditioning, but there's that's just another story. That's just another illusion, right? Um, I've seen that in even prior to apparently dropping away. This character was a DJ for a long time, and there was a seeing that DJing just happens without anyone. So there was already a seeing that there's no such thing as time or there's no one there, but I just can't figure it out.
Okay,
Yeah. All right.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Shadi. I'll get to you, Corey, after Zoe and then Ian Shan. For P.
Hi, Emerson. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Is it Zoe?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Zoe.
Hi,
Yes, I can.
I'm outside walking anyway, so hopefully the
Nice.
wind. Yeah, it's gorgeous. But yeah, I just wanted to say amen, hallelujah. You know, that whole thing of like all these other teachings I was listening to is like years and years and years, and what
Yeah.
has shifted? Nothing. And
Nothing. Yeah.
then, you know, the when I heard this message, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
and and you know, yesterday you're when you and Monique were talking, um I think she talked about going out to eat with some friends, and last night I did, and it was just emptiness
Yeah.
talking to emptiness, and
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, if all these teachers say, okay, this is what you are, then why isn't
Yeah.
it available 24/7? Like,
Yeah.
what's the deal here? You know,
Exactly.
do this practice and you're gonna get there. Bullshit.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Anyway,
I try to be a saint, and
yes.
tried so hard to be a saint. But when the next party came, I attended it and I thought that I lost my sainthood but everything is
Yes. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Zoe. Corey and then Iashan. Go ahead, Corey. Hi, Corey. Oh, I can't hear you. It's there's a mute button. You just have to unmute yourself.
There it is.
There it
Okay.
is. Hi, Corey.
Hi, Emerson. So I actually think maybe you've answered this, but with Robert's last question, it was regarding things loosening up when you hear this message, loosening
Yeah.
up the apparent body. And so if one already has symptoms like pain or something like that, that could get worse.
Who knows really, what I'm saying? It really, for example, if pain is happening, so pain is just paining by itself. There's no one there. So there's no narrative about, sometimes pain gets really, really painful when you add a narrative to it, when it becomes something kind of like um, from based on the story of Emerson, you know what I'm saying? When it was kind of like right now, for example, if there's a Emerson had COVID, it would make a big deal out of it. But now that there is no Emerson here, that it's just seen as a happening and it's also non happening,
Yeah.
there seems to be a less holding on to the story. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just seen as unhappening. So I woke up this morning. I'm like, this feels great. But the last time I did a pop up session, I had fever, but I didn't. That was the COVID time. So it's just what's happening. So it could be whatever it seems to be, right? But there's no more grabbing that story and making it
No.
into a headline. It doesn't
Okay.
make it into a breaking news
No,
every 10
no.
minutes. It's breaking
No.
news. Yeah.
It could be. So, like, people have maybe a dizziness or something like that. So it could be, but no big
Yeah.
deal about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
also, if it's something that is more pronounced, then you go see a doctor as well.
Well,
No big
yeah, of
deal as
course.
well. Yeah. Whatever
Yes,
it is, it's no big deal.
yes, yes. But
Yeah.
sort of there's a feeling here. Oh, good, something's happening. I'm nearer. Something's shifting inside me. The energy is shifting. It must mean I'm nearer the goal, but which is ridiculous because there isn't
No,
one, I
yeah.
understand.
No.
But there's that sort of feeling, you know.
Yeah. In
And
these apparent meetings, when the me is, this is just a story again, don't get caught up in this. This is another concept, right? When there seems to be a hammering that there's no one, it's kind of like the me keeps on hitting the wall because it has nowhere to go. Sometimes there's kind of like, who I can't remember who was saying it earlier, Robert, with this or disorientation or nausea.
mm,
It's realizing that there's really no wall and there's no one hitting the wall. It's just what's happening.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Or seemingly there seems to be a less contraction, right? There's this kind of like relaxing. That's why some people listen to this communication. It's almost like that the ever kind of like, persistent me, although there's no me, the persistence is wearing thin in the story. That's why there seems to be a, okay, you know what? There's nothing to get anyway. There's nowhere to go. So there's almost seemingly a giving up, although no one chooses to give up or not. It's like a seemingly resignation. There's an openness. Some people will call it an openness to what's being expressed here.
mm,
Um,
mm,
yeah,
mm.
I don't know if
And
that answers
everybody,
the question.
people, yeah, thank you. Just a lot of people are experiencing all these wonderful apparent feelings and
Yeah,
joy
yeah.
and laughter, and I'm not feeling any of that, and I'm feeling a bit left out.
So
Why don't I feel it?
the feeling left out is also emptiness.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're trying to have they say comparison is the thief of joy, right? So you're comparing something that really doesn't mean anything. You're comparing stories, but all of the stories are empty. All of the stories have blank pages in it. And you're trying to see that, well, that blank page is better than mine. I'm like, it's blank. There's no one there. There's
yeah,
no one here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I see that, but I just wanted to express it and get it out of my system.
That's right. There's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's
No,
happening. Yeah.
no, no.
And that's also empty, see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Emerson. Thank you.
All right, Corey. I have Iashan and then Louis. Iashan, am I pronouncing your name right?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, good,
Yes, sir.
good, good. Hi, how's it going? What time is it
I
in
am.
India?
It's around 8 o'clock
Not
night.
bad. Not bad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How are you, Emerson?
I'm excellent. I love
Okay.
doing this,
Yeah.
apparently. Yeah.
I love listening to this too.
Oh, thank you.
So I just want to continue the conversation regarding the teachings of Ramana and
Yeah.
Nisargadatta. Like in those, after reading those books, like you get that concept of earnestness, that you have to be earnest to be able to see this, right? That concept of that story
But
that
yeah, but who has a
maybe
choice
a
to be
person.
earnest or not? It's almost a quality that has to be developed, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry, Iashan. Yeah.
Like that. This is an example which was given in that book, that
Mhm.
a person pushing your head into the water, right? You have to be that earnest to come out of it. So that same earnestness is required, to be able to
Yeah.
get this. Is that, I mean, is that right? Is it?
No, that's just a story, right? That's just another. It's almost like it's specialized. You know what I'm saying? That earnestness has to be earned.
Mhm.
That you have to work at it. It's almost like self
Maybe
improvement.
it's maybe you haven't suffered enough to be able to get this, or maybe you haven't the seeking, you
Seeking is
haven't
not. You have.
seeked.
Yeah. Your seeking is only not in this lifetime. Maybe next.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe your seeking is really minimal, but that's just a story because there's no lifetimes and there's no seeker, and what's already being expressed is it's in full exposure already. So no one needs to be earnest, because I thought that that's what I had to do. I held
Mhm.
on to, I think I've read I Am That. I don't remember. It's so funny because I don't have any memory of it whatsoever.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
remember, highlighting that book over and over and over again and trying to be earnest in my studies, and
Mhm.
doing selfless service nonstop. It was an
Yes.
obsession. It was an obsession. And then and I think one time, this is really funny. I'll say it. I post, with just like a staff, and a loincloth to see how it would look like if I become a
Okay.
sage. Because I really wanted to embody that. I really wanted to be enlightened, and
Yes.
I was like, well, that doesn't look as half as bad. You know what I'm saying? I guess I can do this, because I thought that once you realize that you drop all your clothes, I'm like, do I look good with a loincloth? So
Mhm.
I modeled myself and looked at it, but again, that's just a fantasy. It's just another idea of something that is just really, everything is already as it is, right? There's no attainment. There's no next. There's no other, because all that there is this, and everything that we're talking about is just really fantasy. It's like we're reading a book that doesn't even exist anymore. We're conjuring up something that is specialized in other people's idea of trying to get somewhere. It's like we're looking at a map, and then we're already in this spot. So we're looking at a map. We're like, where is it? It's here. It's this.
Yeah.
What clothes do I have to wear? I'm like, is there a loincloth outlet that we can go to and shop? It's already this. There's nothing missing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So even that reading of the book, or what you said earlier was really really interesting, is that you have to seek enough. I tell this story all the time. I have a friend that has never heard of non-duality, was never a seeker, just had a chance meeting with me and just was really curious about what, hasn't seen me in 10 years. Just really, we had a couple of pints of beer, and then not even maybe 2 hours, and then he came back from the washroom and there was this seeing. He goes, there's nothing happening. There's no one here. So it's not caused by anything. That was an accident.
Mhm.
And then I always invite him to. He was actually he was in the meeting yesterday. He popped in his head and just, I don't know if you guys saw him. He was making faces at me. Because to him this is a joke, because it's so
Mhm.
obvious. He goes, why are those people? He goes, there's so many people. And we were talking in between the break. He goes, why are there so many people listening to you? I said, and isn't that obvious? Because if they spent time, even like, an hour or 2 hours listening to what you're saying, it's crazy, but it's obvious.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all that's being discussed here is not contingent. It's not depending on seeking or being good or being earnest or trying to do, because it's contradictory. Now that I look back at all of those things, they keep on saying that there's no doer, but do this.
Mhm. Yes.
There's no one here, but this is how you get there.
They always come out with a list.
With the list, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this rips apart those lists and says, well, if that's not really non-duality. So I don't even see those as non-duality anymore. I see it as a fictional idea of what non-duality is, or applied non-duality, or practice non-duality. But you can't practice non-duality. You can't attain non-duality because it already is.
All right.
Yeah. It's like
Thank you.
auditioning for a movie called Non-Duality, and you practice, wearing your loincloth, wearing your staff, maybe
Mhm.
smoking a little bit like Nisargadatta, to see if that will happen to me. You're
Yes.
auditioning for something that's already obvious. All right, Inshan, great question.
Thank you.
Louis,
Thank you.
go ahead.
Hey, Emerson.
Hey, Louis, what time is it in Hong Kong?
Hey. It's 10:35.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, good. Good to see you. I was
Good to
here
see you.
yesterday too.
Oh, yeah, I
With
saw you.
yeah. Me and my girlfriend were listening together,
Yeah.
and and
Hello,
no,
Louis'
we
girlfriend.
yeah
Is she
she's
sleeping? Oh, sorry.
she's visible. Now, so I've got a bunch of kind of story questions.
Yeah, sure,
You would,
sure. I like those.
yeah, you during like the end of the last session, you were talking about triggers, and so that kind of resonated. You know, like I mentioned before, like relationship is something I kind of struggle with, and you know, like we had a fight yesterday just before, you know, listening to you, and there's this, you know, it's just like triggers, right, in a relationship, and you know, this message says, you know, there's no relationship, like so, yeah, wondering if you can speak more about that.
Yeah, sure, sure. Imagine if everything that's happening is happening automatically, it doesn't have a history, it doesn't have a past, and it has nowhere to go. So everything is just magically appearing instantly, automatically. Since there's no past and there's no future, what seems to be happening is so immediate that there's no digging of the past and there's no worry about the future. So fighting becomes a little bit laughable because it's happening automatically for no reason at all. I watch my parents sometimes and they're bickering because they've been married for like 50 plus years or something. And I burst into laughter because what they're talking about is really meaningless. So every single fight is meaningless. Every single fight is uncaused. Every single argument doesn't have any purpose. It's like a sneeze. It's like a fart. It's like a hiccup. It's like a hiccup hiccuping, and you're like, and then you try to make the hiccup into something kind of like, you know, substantial. Well, the reason that I'm hiccuping right now is because of this former hiccups. I'm blaming it from the former hiccups, and you hiccup too. It's as silly as that.
Yeah.
But
It feels like
the reaction that happens from the hiccup is immediate. But
yeah.
since it's immediate, even if it's anger or frustration, when it's seen that it's really empty, that's what I keep on saying, that everything is empty. So even that argument is really empty. There's really no one behind those girlfriend's eyes. There's no really one behind Louis' eyes. It's just this wholeness seemingly playing in separateness, fighting, but really there's no one there. There's an appearance of, you know, a Louis and his girlfriend fighting. That's why I'm saying it's really laughable because there's really nothing happening. It's like an empty play. It's like an empty play with this seemingly appearances that seems to be arguing about something that doesn't really matter. Um, that's why when I talk about, you know, the apparent assault, the reaction was get those fuckers. You know what I'm saying? But the next day, people were like, how come you're walking? And I'm like, because it's like it's like going back to your dream and then looking for, or it just doesn't make sense. None of that happened.
Yeah.
It's so weird. There's almost like this brainwashing that there's separateness. It's like this communication is almost like the deprogramming of that brainwash thinking that there's others or there's a me. So it's so clear, you know what I'm saying? It's so clear that everything is just appearing at the same time. There's no here and there. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good. It's, I mean, obviously the sense of, you know, that it's real and me is definitely here with, you know, still real for me. I mean, I can relate to the.
It's not about getting rid of that too, right? Because the illusion feels real.
Yeah.
The illusion feels real. That's why it's laughable, because it's real, but it's also empty. Meaning that if I cut my fingers, it's going to hurt, right? So there's this reaction like, ouch, right? It's not going to say that, well, that's really empty, so I don't know why I'm saying ouch. It does feel real. So an argument feels completely confrontational because there's this real her and you. Yeah. The reason that it doesn't feel as heavy is because even while there's an argument happening, there's an emptiness in it, a complete emptiness. That meaning that there's really no one interacting.
Well, I don't know if I have that same, but I can relate to when you mentioned, or someone mentioned like two animal, I can't remember, animal or birds like fighting, and then they're swimming peacefully. because when I, after the fight and everything, next day or a few hours,
Yeah.
like if I think about it and there's like no trigger at all, it feels
Yeah.
like nothing happened. But I don't know if that is the same
I'll give
feeling.
you
But
another example of it. I like watching those Discovery Channel. I like watching those lions and gazelles. So a lion, or a lioness will grab a gazelle, and then the gazelle will get out, right? And it will shake its body like really beautifully, kind of like a gazelle, and then gazelle back, really, really gracefully. It doesn't go to his counseling or psychotherapy and saying that, oh, you know what, I have
yeah,
this,
yeah,
it shakes off of all the trauma. But that's just a really simple expression. So seemingly here, and this is just a story, that when this body was attacked, it shook it off.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Again, this communication is not about therapy. It's not about, whatever.
Sure.
This is
Yeah.
just an expression of what's seemingly happening here. And what seemingly happened here also did not happen from this perspective. Yeah. Apparent perspective.
Yeah, and that leads me to the other story question, which is, like, because we learned so much about like working on relationships, like,
Yeah, of course.
you probably used to teach this, like the other person's a mirror, and
Oh, yeah,
everything
yeah.
is within. Like we're still using part of that to manage the relationship, because it's,
Oh,
I got
no.
nothing. You know what I mean? Because it's and sometimes it seems like these triggers do lessen.
Okay. It could be just a clarifying of those lessons, that they're not really lessons. They're just what's happening. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I use the word mirror, but I'll say that what's being reflected is really nothing.
It's really nothing.
Yeah.
Not
there's
not
things
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So it's
not
not a lesson.
reflecting yourself. No.
Yeah. It's really nothing. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I was curious about one question. Like, for example, like I don't know if you're dating, because you mentioned you were divorced, and then
Yeah.
like then when the me fell away, you still kind of have not you, but there's nobody, but there's a preference for a partner, or do you look at like personality
There's really
matches?
no desire, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? If it happens, it's happening. But there's no desiring to be. There's completeness already. There's contentment.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But when it walks to a bar, it's hotter because it's content. I'm joking, but yeah, not really. But yeah.
But like it can
Because it's
happen.
content, right? It's content.
Yeah, that because a lot of relationship is it's
It's
not being whole.
confident.
Yeah. So how is it gonna happen that you're gonna find a partner? It just by no one like happens.
It's
We
just
don't know.
whatever is happening, no one knows. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I wish I can share you some really hot non-duality gossip, but I'm not.
Okay. Well, a private message. No, I'm kidding.
It's actually not a gossip, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
No, lastly, I want to share. I did have, I've been sharing with a few friends, and it is quite interesting. I have a friend who was listening to you during she was having lunch,
Yeah.
and she messaged me, and she said she didn't know what you were talking about. She's never been to your session. She just listening to you. She said she didn't know what you were talking about. She didn't understand it, and then she suddenly was crying, and she said there's it has nothing to do with frequency. She doesn't know what it means.
Yeah.
But whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just want to share. And sometimes, like what you were mentioning about comparison, and sometimes I'm like, hey, I listen to this all the my friend never listened to. She was just having a meal, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. That's what I mean. Like, I have a friend that has never really seeked, even a minute in his life, and he was just really curious. He just really trusts this character because he's known it since high school. So there's this openness, right? He knows it's not going to bullshit to him, and I actually even avoided saying like, no, you're not going to believe it. He goes, try me. I'm like, no. He goes, come on, Emerson. I'm like, okay, fine. So there's no one here, and he goes, what? So we just had this like really normal conversation, and as I said, it is just not instantly, but seemingly, he doesn't even know. Goes, what were we talking about again? It was just really obvious. Just really, really obvious. Yeah. To him that, yeah. I'm like, it's like a blackout when you blacked out when you were drinking. Remember that? And that's to him was kind of like, So it's the same. No one blacked out. Yeah. It's kind
Mm.
of like your friend that was listening and not really listening, right? There was
Yeah,
almost kind of like,
she
you
had no
know,
idea what you were talking about.
yeah, I know, and there was like a dropping, yeah,
Yeah,
or yeah.
yeah. Cool. No,
All
no,
right,
great.
okay,
Thanks
Louis.
for
All right,
for talking to you. Thanks.
thank you. Hey, William, and then Shadi.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi.
So obviously, I was saying to you just before the break that the me wants to have everything for itself,
Yes.
and what I've been reflecting on is how kind of as soon as there is that sense of separation, that sense of loss,
Mm-hmm.
there's a need to try and add more and more. In all, it's all about filling that sense of loss, isn't it?
That's just another story, right? Because there's no loss and there's no sense of loss. So you're trying to create something to create to block. You're blocking what's being expressed here by coming up with these ideas of why it can't be had.
No, I don't mean why liberation can't be had. I just mean
Okay.
even like you see it in like some children as they start to grow up and develop into like little me's, that it's there is a kind of sense of loss, like that need. I mean, I remember as a child, like when there's a toy or something like a video game you want, and you're crying and crying and crying to your parents to get it. It's like it's
If you
almost like
want to
there's a
go
need
to
to get.
yeah, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead. If you really want to go to a story, it's the moment that there's a separation from the womb, right? That's a separation. So it's a story as well, though, right? We're just trying to go into theories and everything of how separation started because there's no separation. Just like what I said, it's like you know, there's no movement. This is already death. There's already no separation here. So when you're going on a roundabout way of why there's separation and there's this history, it becomes a theory of something that never really happened.
So what can I do about feeling separate?
I keep on saying nothing because there's no you that's separate.
So I'm just going to go on for the rest of my
Hooray!
life. So I'm just going to go on for the rest of my life feeling awful about feeling separate.
There's no rest of your life because all that there is this.
I
You
am
just created
dreading.
another story.
I am dreading living in separation for the rest of my life. I'm absolutely dreading it.
You're creating another story which creates, you know what I'm saying? It's just another kind of like as I
Leaving.
said, it keeps on I'm just going to do some muting here. Just a second, sorry. Yeah, so it seems to be that there's a rather than seeing there's no one choosing to do this, that what's being expressed here is already available. It blocks it by creating another hypothetical thing that I'm going to this is what's going to happen to me. I'm dreading this and everything. See, if there's no one that's going to catch it, but that's what's being expressed here. Is that automatic response, that William app that keeps on coming up, is just what's happening. There's nothing wrong or right about that. But you don't have to. Every time that Alexa turns you to turn left or right, you're not going to. You know what I'm saying? It's like following everything that the app is saying, although the app is, as you know, is illusory.
Emerson, I don't want you to bullshit me, but I just hate that I can't get an answer out of you that
I
gives
know.
me any platform to stand on.
I know, and as I said, and I've always, said this to you, I've known you for quite a while now in this story, and if there's something that I would have given you, and all the compassion in this apparent radical community, would have given you something already by now, as an honorary, because of every single, you've earned it, but you can never earn this. You know what I'm saying? This is something that you can't earn because it's already here. It's already free. Or someone would have charged you like, you know what? Well, William, it's kind of like a black market thing. Well, I know this person that gives it to you for 20 grand and you can do this.
Selling liberation on the black market.
That's right. I would have shown up if there was a black market for liberation. I would have emailed you. I'm like, well, don't tell Tony and everybody, but here's the black market number for this, and I
Yeah.
know.
But But the thing is, you said there's no sense of separation. If
Yeah.
there isn't a sense of separation, why is there a feeling so strongly that this isn't it and I've got to get somewhere better?
Because that's the illusion of separation. See, the illusion feels completely real. That's why it's an illusion. It's an illusion of separation, and there's something better than this. That there's got to be something better than this is the for this character, that was a lot of trouble because it always kept on saying there's got to be something better than this. I spent so much money traveling, following, trying to follow gurus. Maybe this retreat, maybe more ayahuasca, maybe this, maybe I will get into this ascended master thing. It's just this neurotic kind of like, seeking everywhere and like just basically throwing away money.
Yeah.
It's like, this is going to be really crude. It's like going to a strip joint and saying, no, no, that one. You give money. No, no.
That sounds more like my version of seeking.
Yeah. It's the same thing, William. You know what I'm saying? It can't. It can't because what it's doing is it is looking for something that can't be bought.
It's not good news. But
I
thank you,
know.
Emerson.
All right. Okay. I went to your language in there because I know you're partying. Shadi, please go ahead. I'm such a rascal, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, as this like sort of, the more and more it opens up, or whatever the word is, I don't even know what to use anymore. Did you find that you've had times where you're just completely lost drive? Like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's like, and like, you're like, well, and then you don't even feel like talking to anybody because you're like, what am I gonna say?
Yeah. Well, in the
Like,
story of Emerson, there was I didn't speak for a whole month. I just couldn't. I was just well, there's a reason for that one. This is just a story. It's because I was supposed to do a comeback as a spiritual teacher, and then I booked a place for a whole month, and then I canceled the retreat because I could not teach anymore. I'm like, what am I going to teach? Like, what are we going to meditate on? So last minute, I canceled a meditation retreat, for people, and it was kind of funny because here I was gonna like cancel as a spiritual teacher, and then just about when I was about to make a comeback as a spiritual teacher, it killed it again. I'm like, damn it! So it was just in limbo. Like, what am I going to do now? But it actually was like a little kid. Although there's no interest, it was like a lazy teenager all of a sudden with no motivation.
and yeah, that's like, I feel like that's happening, but then you have all these relationships, whether they're your, siblings or parents, and then it's like, you don't even want to be in it anymore somehow, but then it's like, but it pulls on, like, it just, like, how did you say, like, you just suddenly said, oh, guys, I'm MIA for a month, and then they were just cool?
Well,
Or they were like, well,
that
you're being
time I was going.
selfish, you're being rude, why don't you want to talk? And then it's like, well, I don't really feel like talking.
Well, luckily that happened that month, because I was already scheduled to be I was supposed to be teaching, meditation for a whole month. That was already kind of like, in the story anyway. So when I came back, there was this aliveness. It's almost like my brother and my sister said that, oh, you know what? I'm so happy. They were really happy because they knew that this character was suffering big time for a few years, right? So it was almost kind of like, oh, what a relief, right? Because this character was really destructive and all that kind of stuff, and there was peacefulness. So there seems to be in everything is just a story. So in the story, if there seems to be a seeming kind of like almost deconstruction of what you think was there, what seems to happen is also a full on expression of that character.
And are your
It's no
brothers and
fake.
sisters on board with the non, like your,
They don't
this?
know. They just know that it's a drama free Emerson. They're just like, oh, there's no more drama. What's going on? It's like it's all of a sudden that neurotic me of wanting this or that or whatever. It's always something new. They're like Emerson always wants something new. One day it's whatever, and one day it's here. So it's almost like it's almost like it retired. There's no more specialness. This is actually flattens all of the specialness. If the Emerson got enlightened, it would be shouting at mountaintops, creating posters and flyers everywhere to announce that it got enlightened, building up a center or something like that, and it becomes a thing. So when this apparently happened, he didn't know what to do. I'm like, I guess this is it. Since there's no one here, who am I going to tell? None of my family members now. They know that I speak about non-duality, but they have no idea what non-duality is. My mom saw one of my videos, and I was like, oh shit, up. Luckily, she's a little bit deaf, so she just smiled through the whole thing and did not put on the subtitles, and was just happy. Yeah. But if she heard, she's a very staunch Catholic, right? She prays the rosary almost daily. And I was like, oh no, I hope she doesn't hear me say that there's no God. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Dennis. Hey, Dennis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before I spoke with you about when I was younger, I had a number of wow experiences, where they were just absolutely fabulous, and I've chased after them the rest of my life and all of that. Well, the thing I haven't told you about, and I'd like your opinion on, is I guess something along the line of blackouts.
Yes.
Later on in life, I had a period of multiple panic attacks. I would just be sitting there quietly doing nothing, and then all of a sudden there was an absolute total 100% void in which I did not exist.
Yes.
And it is the most terrifying thing I've ever had. It, like, my heart almost stopped. I was just wanted to somehow run away and get away from this whole damn mess. And it happened many times. It hasn't happened quite so severely for some time now, but there's keeps to being those little glimpses of absolute nothing. I don't exist, and it's scary. I don't like it. And I know before when we talked about my wows, you talked about how I should be viewing not the glimpses as a gap, but rather I am the gap.
That's right.
The nothingness.
You're the one that doesn't exist.
So comment, if you will, on that absolute terror panic attacks that I've had with non-existence. And tell me a solution. How do I not panic?
Well, there's no solution to that because that didn't really happen. But I'm going to share you a story of apparent people that have this seeing that there's nothing. So sometimes what could happen is relief, right? And in this is a story, and in some practices in Indian kind of like samadhi, they call that samadhi, right? They call that enlightenment, which is basically the loss of consciousness and all that kind of stuff. And people practice to get to that state. So some people that don't know what it is seem to kind of like approach it with sheer panic, because that's what you want, and it just got shown you what you want. That's death. Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it is. It is. So it's the unknown being known, which is contradictory, but the unknown is known. What everyone's looking for is that. It's the absence of suffering. That doesn't have any suffering. So when the absence of suffering is seen, suffering happens. There's no suffering.
Give me my suffering back.
Yeah. What do you mean it's all peaceful? No. So it panics at what it's longing for is it's longing for its own absence. So when it sees its own absence, it goes into sheer panic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's like but you don't panic when there's a deep sleep.
No.
When there's a deep sleep, there's no you. It's the same thing. So that is what is apparently eternal. It's nothingness. It's that peace that is unfuckable. I got a chance to say it again.
I don't like it though because there's no place for me in that
That's
nothingness.
why. That's
See.
why. That's why. That's why. So guess what? That is what's happening, and the illusion of me is also what's happening simultaneously.
Well, I guess so because I got me back. Here I am
Yeah.
again. You know, so
So that's
I
the
came back
illusion, is
out of
that
the
you got.
nothingness.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I know that people have. I talked about maybe about 5 or 6 people that experienced that yesterday, because it was just nonstop, kind of like almost kind of like the me keeps on getting um exposed that it's not there, right? So they had a couple of people. If you had that, just message me. You know, I know a bunch of people, not about 5, 6 people, had that disappearance, right? And it can be quite liberating. It could be crying. They're like, "Oh my goodness, Emerson, thank you so much," or it could be like, "What did you do?" What
I'm in the
happened
later
there?
camp. It's all your fault.
It's
Don't
all
do
my
that
fault.
again.
There's no one here, so there's no nothing happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come back again with some blank questions.
Oh, I definitely will.
And then I see Steve there. Hi, Steve. Where are you, Steve? Oh, I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Let's see. There's a mute button. Steve's wife, I'm waving to you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. How are you
Okay.
both?
Hey, well, we're doing good, and we couldn't make the early meeting this morning, but we're here now.
How's it going?
Well, I had an interesting little episode this morning early, where the me was convinced that it had disappeared,
Yeah.
and as we talk now, I can see that it's still here.
Okay.
So,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
well, what it did was it was depressing itself this morning about.
I got it and I lost it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Damn it.
Well, it was more like, well, am I going to go through another day being depressed, or what's going on here? And why do I need to be depressed here?
Yeah.
And then it did a little play on non-dual vocabulary and convinced itself that it had disappeared itself.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, so seemingly, you know what, this is just an expression of what seemingly happened, that there was a seeing that there's never been anyone, right? So it's kind of like when someone's sleeping and someone turns on the light, and then you're like, oh, there's no one here. But the moment that, the character tries to understand that there's no one here, it becomes an idea. So this is not about knowing, right? It's always unknown, meaning that there's just this. That's why I said this is a non-stop thing. It doesn't land. So right now it seems like that there's a knowing, but actually it's also empty right now.
Okay.
This is also emptiness. So what seemingly appeared earlier and what's happening now is exact same thing. It's all empty. So seemingly the emptiness is appearing as a me, but it's also empty, meaning it's not there. Meaning that nothing is happening. There's the illusion that the me came back, but it never came back. It's just there's this idea that it came back, And then you're holding on to that idea as if that's the real one now.
That describes it.
Yeah. Yeah. There it is. Then it's perfect, isn't it? There's never been a me. It's just an idea. It's just emptiness appearing as this real felt sense that me came back. But the real felt sense is also an illusion, meaning it's also empty. Yeah.
I can go for emptiness.
Well, this is emptiness. You don't have to go for it. It's already empty.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Emerson.
You're welcome. William.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi.
After I just spoke to you a couple of minutes ago, my whole body just froze with fear. And I don't know, when you talk, it sounds so gentle, you're so softly spoken, but there's terror arising when I listen to you. What's the message? Not you, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just terrifying.
Yeah, because this is really emptiness speaking. And you're trying to put qualities into emptiness. It's speaking to emptiness as well. And that's why there's terror, because it's seeing its own emptiness, talking to it. So what's being expressed there is empty. And what's the understanding there is empty. So this is emptiness, expressing emptiness to emptiness. And that's why there's terror, because it's seeing, it's resonating emptily. So it's not a soft-spoken dude. It's actually empty. And you're afraid of emptiness, aren't you?
Well, energetically, there's a fear. Logically, I think it'll be great because then I'll have loads of freedom and it'll be all brilliant. No, logically, the me thinks it's going to get emptiness, and that'll be an advantage because then it won't suffer.
It can't get emptiness, right? It can't get emptiness. It's already this. It's already empty. So how can it get emptiness when it's already empty? Even the one that thinking that it will get emptiness is empty itself. So empty can't get empty because it's already empty. But in the black market, there's emptiness for sale for 20 grand. If you want it, I'll let you know my contact.
I'm a bit scared of it now.
Talk to Grace. Grace Park. She knows it.
What I was going to say is like this message is the ultimate head fuck because the me is because the me is constantly alternating between I've got to get this, I've got to get this, I've got to get, and then oh no, fuck this, and then I've got to get it, I've got to get it. And it's just...
So the one that's alternating is just emptiness, alternating into emptiness. So really nothing is alternating. You just caught yourself there.
Yeah, but you don't have that kind of schizophrenia.
There's no one here. What are you talking about?
That's why, because there is a sense of a me here. Anyway.
So the sense of the me is also empty.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Patty. I'll get to your questions. There's a couple of questions, but I'll get to Patty. There's a couple of questions on the chat here that I keep on forgetting. I do need an Emerson host. Go ahead, Patty. Hi.
So I am wondering why you don't use the phrase empty fullness. You only say empty.
Because it's the same. It's confusing sometimes. It's
well,
the same
fullness,
thing.
Fullness
yeah.
makes me feel happy, and empty makes me feel sad.
Maybe that's why I don't use it.
That's what I was wondering, because it would be too, it's not radical enough.
Yeah. There's no one choosing here. It's just what's appearing to come out is just what's appearing.
So you just, it's just natural.
It's just natural. Yeah. It's just seen as emptiness here. Yeah. It's not seeing duality. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Patty. I remember a talk that there were people coming into your house. And you had to kind of like rush and go. You're like, no one can hear about this non-duality thing.
Yeah, they'll put me in a place.
Yeah. Oh, Vicenzo. Hello. Did I pronounce your name right? Oh, you're muted.
Hi. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Emerson.
How's it going? Hey, Vicenzo.
So I just want to say that I don't understand this.
I know. Yeah. No one understands this.
And so like so nothing's happening. So,
Yeah. And that can't
okay.
really be understood, right? Because nothing is happening, and when that's processed, then something is happening. So it doesn't make sense. When you try to think nothing is happening, that's already a happening. So it can't really be fully expressed. It can't be put into ideas. How can you put an idea of nothing is happening? You're going to try to picture stillness, but even picturing stillness is something happening. So let's complete that sentence, or let's add to that. Nothing is happening, but everything is appearing as happening.
Yeah.
Same thing. Or empty is fullness.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And I have a couple. Hi, hey Maud. If you want to ask your question, please go ahead. Or I'll go to Vera. Hi, Vera. Hello.
Yeah, hi there. Hi,
How are you
Emerson.
doing?
Yeah, good, actually. What I notice is that I like the idea of disappearing, and
Yeah, of
I've
course.
disappeared. I've disappeared, I feel like, a few times in my life. And then afterwards, I didn't panic. I was like relieved, and it was a good feeling.
Yeah, of course. Kind of like a deep sleep at night. You disappear and it's a good
Yeah,
feeling. Yeah, it's the same thing.
right. I like it.
So every night
Yeah,
you fall asleep and you disappear.
right. When I have a
Yeah.
deep sleep, I know I just came out of a deep sleep.
Yeah.
It feels great.
Yeah.
So all of that is okay with me. And I think all of this, any of these stories seem to be just to get away from suffering.
That's what it is.
There's
But
so much,
yeah.
there's so much stories and feelings about suffering that, that feels appealing to me. So
Yeah.
anything like this, just to get away from the suffering. So I can
Yeah.
say about everything, it's all a story. Even Ukraine is a story. Putin is a story. Russia
Everything.
is a story.
Yeah. Everything.
Nuclear war, it's all story.
Everything. Yeah.
And whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And then just wondering, but everything is, like, is there anything out there? Is there anything making these appearances, any kind of energy or
No.
cosmic? Nothing, huh?
Nothing. And that's what's so, it's kind of like, when you're dreaming at night, everything that seems to be happening seems really charged and happening for real, right? But when you wake up, no one's making it happen. It's all empty.
But do you think you went through all this? And then the other thought that comes up for me after all of the stuff that you did, which is so much, so many years of intensity, that the disappointment of not acquiring what you imagined you would acquire, that you fell into this, that everything is nothing and that there's no
No,
meaning.
it's kind of funny because in the dream, I acquired actually kind of like the seeker, and I did, for quite a while thought I was enlightened.
Oh, that's right. You
And I
did
was
say that.
and I was teaching a whole bunch of people, and it was really blissful, but it was also a dream, meaning it was not real. So kind of like the title of this, what awakened goes to sleep. So there was an awakening there, and then I was afraid to go to sleep, so I tried to maintain it. And then when someone tried to kiss my feet, that someone came from India, I got freaked out by it. So it went to this summit, and then saw that, this is really, this is really lonely. This is a facade. It's like this is a whole, this is just another fuckery. right? Because you're all of a sudden you're at the top of being a spiritual teacher. Everyone adores you and admires you, but and then you got there by being the moral superior of everyone, you know, being kind and helping people, and then realizing that none of that matters. You want to go to the next club and you know and binge party because you know because it's so kind of like you feel ripped off. So it's a rip off. So enlightenment is a giant rip off because you think that you've acquired something that you can teach to others, and then even when you question yourself, even when you think you know that you're lying, you're keeping the lie alive by kind of like saying, well, my lineage actually talks about this. Here's a quote from Nisargadatta, because you're trying to maintain that facade. So it's an illusion on top of an illusion to convince yourself that your illusion is fulfilled by enlightenment. So the illusion of enlightenment or the dream of enlightenment is a very it's torturous. I feel bad for all these apparent enlightened people because I can tell. I'm like, oh man, that's just another cage. What kind of freedom is that? Like wearing a robe and yeah.
And then what about interacting with people? Do you notice any difference in interacting with others
It's
that
more
are
full
that appear
on.
to?
It's more full on. It's more fun because there's no more pretension. The way that I speak to you guys is the same that I speak to everybody. If you talk to me, you know, on the phone or something, so there's no pretension. There's no pretending here. This is the authentic character that's not there. It's just authentically expressing. I talk to my nieces and nephew this way. I talk to my brother, my mom. There's this sameness. There's no pretending anymore because it's all pretend anyway.
And so what if somebody comes to you in your family that you feel something for, whatever the story is, and they're suffering tremendously, physically or mentally or emotionally?
Well,
What,
when
how
my
do you
aunt
interact? Yeah.
well, my aunt passed away, you know, my aunt, I love her so much, you know what I'm saying? Although it seemed that there was no one there, um, I sobbed and grieved for a day. There was just this, you know, but after that sobbing, there was this feeling of this great relief. You know what I'm saying? There's just this great tribute to this apparent character that was my beautiful aunt, right? So it's not a, and this character didn't really cry before. It held all its tears because it was the eldest of four boys, right? So it had to pretend to be strong and so right now because my mom used to give me bitter melon, right now I say I can't eat that. That's gross. But before, because I was trying to please my mom, I'll be like, "Oh, yum! You know, it's great." So there's no more pretension. The character is free. It's freedom. Yeah.
So more freedom than you ever experienced when you were at the pinnacle of enlightenment.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. That was a very that scene was very torturous, right? Because like for example, I would drink a beer and people would gasp. They're like, "I can't believe that you drink beer," and I'm like, "Oh, so sorry." And I would talk to you know, it's just one beer. Or I would go. I like dancing, so you know, when I go to a club, I'm like, oh, you know, I'll go to the bar. I'm like, can I have water, please? Because I didn't want my students or you know to see that I would be touching alcohol. Or one time, you know, I was feeling lonely because I had a divorce. I was on a dating app, and then one of my students kind of like ran to me and said, "Emerson, someone is pretending to be you on this dating app," and I'm like, "It's really me. It's really me." I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So you can't, you know, it's enlightenment is a trap. It's a giant jail. So there's this. You think that you get out of jail of religion, and then you think you get into spirituality. It's another trap. And then someone said this earlier. I liked it. So enlightenment is like a straight jacket. You can't move.
Oh yeah, the straight jacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
life is that. Life is a straight jacket. You know,
Not
life.
really. If it's not really, life doesn't even exist.
Right. The life that seems to exist feels
Which
like
doesn't. All right,
Well,
Vera. I have
Thank you.
a couple more. Howard, hi Howard, how are you doing?
Oh, hi, Emerson. Sorry, I zoned out there completely. No, the guy before the last speaker, I don't know, he said something like, I don't understand this. And I'm sat here thinking, I do understand this back to front and inside out.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I'm to the point where I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. And to say that I understand it, it's like a realization that to understand it is knowing, and the whole road must be knowing. And how can you know something that would require a past and a future and time and space? And it's just a sickness. I mean, yesterday when you were speaking about the nighttime and the daytime dream, and along the lines of things you were saying there, and it just came like, the difference between the two is an idea. And that bingo moment you spoke about, and it was like, what the? And but no, there's just an utter had enough of this. I mean, I'm so grateful for this, and you putting this on, and this free one as well. You know, I walked out on my career a couple of years ago, just dismayed it. So every penny's a prisoner. So thanks for that.
Of course.
But yeah. Thanks, man. But
so what is sick of it is also empty. So emptiness is getting sick of emptiness, which is just another illusion. So there's no separation. Whether you're really into it, you're obsessed with it, you can't stop listening, you're sick of it, you're resisting it. I can take a dose of it. It's all emptiness. So there's no hierarchy. Everything that is appearing is all empty. It's all empty. There's nothing behind it. You think there's a reason, there's a time, there's a history, there's a motivation or lack of motivation. It's all empty. It's trickery. There's no one that can choose to be obsessed with this or not obsessed with it or sick of it.
And all of that
is empty.
And everything. It's
because
it's
there's
just
no,
an appearance of
it's all
what
an
this looks
appearance.
like.
It's almost like an illusion to support an illusion of time, that there was something that got you to frustration, but there's nothing that got you to frustration.
So it's fair to say it's genuine. It is what it is, but it's just an appearance of that.
Yes.
It's not that. It is that, but it's just an appearance of that.
It's just an appearance of that. Yeah.
It's what that looks like. It's like.
So even the or the I understand or I don't understand, everything is that
already.
That's what I'm saying. There's nothing that's excluded, right? Everything, the pants, the hats. That's hat. I thought it was pants. The hats, the beard, the wall, the taste in your mouth, the seeing, the frustration, the seeming kind of like restlessness or the interest or the disinterest is all empty. Nothing is not empty. Everything is empty. These words are just fluctuations of an energy that is so clear that it doesn't need words.
It's just an appearance of what.
So this energy, we put words into it to make it separate, but it can't be separated. So to a contracted energy, there's no contracted energy actually. It's all boundless energy. The appearance of the contracted energy named Howard is trying to pin all of this different energy, but there's no different energy. The identification of frustration, getting it, not getting it, is just identification. It's kind of like putting stickers on air. You can't separate air. It's all empty. Yeah.
It's like when you were, what was I thinking yesterday? You said something and I was thinking, if I was to die now or live another 30 years, I won't have lived any longer. There's only
there's no
idea now. It's all an idea now, or a concept.
All idea. Even dying is an idea. 30 years is an idea. Everything that comes out from you is an idea.
That's
because
all.
you are an idea.
That's ridiculous. That's
Yeah,
all
it
it is now.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I
It
can't
is.
deny that, Emerson. I can't deny that for it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's. Who would say that? Who could say that?
Yeah. It's madness until it isn't. You're like, wow.
Yeah,
It's always been this way.
That apparent flow between just clarity and just madness, confusion, and
that's all emptiness. Actually,
bang,
clarity
bang, bang.
and madness and confusion, they're all emptiness. As I said, what you're looking for seems to be hidden because it's appearing as everything. Everything is emptiness.
Yeah. I was thinking like, this might sound stupid, like the body as a whole. I mean, I'm only speaking in this like fun and games conceptually, but the body, if you're not moving, the body is not moving, and if you want to focus in, the heart's beating, blood's pumping around, the whole thing inside conceptually is going crazy, and it's not moving.
Nothing is moving.
And it's like
just the idea is
same
moving.
thing with it. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm talking about things.
Yeah. No worries.
No,
no worries.
How can there be a thing? It's ridiculous. You would need time.
Yeah.
I don't. This is wonderful.
Yes. So this idea of time is the one that is really heavy, right? The heavy, because I know time. I woke up this morning. This is real. It's whatever time it is right now. But time is a very persistent illusion, but it's very flimsy. It's very, because all that there is this, and there's nothing outside of this, and there's no time in this.
No.
Ideas about time, the past, the future, the present are all ideas appearing, apparently. Here.
When you say it like that, Emerson, sometimes like the notion of time just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I'm sucked back into the movie and it means everything. But
yeah, but that's also emptiness. See, even that idea of because think of it, it's a complete stillness. That's stillness. This is what is being sought for, is stillness. There's the illusion that moves in everything, in all directions, time and everything, but it's actually really still. So stillness is appearing as all of this movement in time and space and me and you and separation, but there's no such thing.
It's almost like when you talk like that and something, say, touches it, that everything stops happening.
Yes.
But concept, but it's also flowing, but it just, everything stops.
Yes.
It's, wow, it is amazing.
Yeah. As Tony would say, say no more. Say no more. Just stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah. Talk to me again later if it comes up.
Lovely, man. Thanks. I'm still sick of it though.
That's also what's happening. That's also stillness. Mala, and then we'll go for a break. Hey, Mala. Hi.
Hi, Emerson.
How are you? Oh. Real.
But can you see the U?
Yes.
And the N.
Yeah. Unreal. Oh, beautiful. I love that. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Everybody.
I love that. Yeah, the U and the N. Yeah, unreal and real appearing as.
Because it's simultaneous, isn't it?
Simultaneously, yeah. Beautiful.
Here's for everybody.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you so much, Mala.
Can Mala, can you show that one more time so I can get a screenshot?
Higher.
Higher.
There we go. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mala. No more questions for Mala. It's good.
No questions. Just wanted to show that. Thanks, Emerson.
Beautiful.
Thanks, everybody.
Louis, last question. Louis.
Hey, Emerson.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, last question. Very,
no
very
worries.
quick. No, my girlfriend her name's Helena, and I'm asking for her, but trying to rephrase. She's too shy to ask. But she wanted to know if it's all empty, why is there so much story and seems like there's so much me and all this going on?
Because empty is conceptualized, or its fullness is appearing as this concept of stories, concepts, right? So emptiness is simultaneously appearing as stories. Emptiness is simultaneously an illusion that feels completely real. But everything is completely empty. Because the one that's seeing emptiness is also empty.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
I have a whole bunch of stuff here, Corey. Yes, so the next session is going to be an hour. We're going to be back. I'm going to open up the breakout room here, and there's going to be 4 breakout rooms, and then we'll be back in an hour. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about in the next hour, but it's going to be the one. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Emerson.
Emerson.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Emerson.
Love you all. Thank you so much.
Later.